How do we avoid Dungeon Master burnout? That's what we're going to explore in this vlog, because certainly being a Dungeon Master is very rewarding. You get to create a world, you get to present that world to players, and you get to exist and play in that world with players. At the same time, in creating this, you get to, in that moment, kind of make narrative role-playing decisions. You can't account for everything. You can't prepare for everything. And more as a DM, it's like, let's just focus on creativity and don't worry about preparing, because the players are always going to think up things and do things where I didn't expect that. I didn't plan for that. I don't even know if there's a rule for that. When in doubt, just assign it a DC and go with it, right? That perspective is a DM. But a DM also has a lot of responsibilities. You're there to tell the narrative. You're there to, I don't want to say enforce the rules, but have the rules as a framework. You're there to make sure all the players are heard. They all have a voice at the table. You're there to facilitate and make sure everyone is having a good time, a fun time. And of course, what that qualifies in D&D is vastly different. Everyone has a different perspective on that. You're kind of like the leader of the adventuring party, telling the story. You're kind of like a bard. I guess a DM is like a bard from that perspective, because you've got the magic, you've got the skills, you've got the vision, you've got the voice, you've got the song. But burning out, it happens as a DM. I mean, can you burn out as a player? Can you play too much D&D? I have not played enough D&D, and I've played a lot of D&D, but sometimes as a DM, even with the experience and knowledge that I have, sometimes I'm dragging a little bit, or I'm dragging, not dragging. I feel like I'm kind of tired. You know, I'm excited to play and I'm glad to play, but I'm just, I don't know, right? A little bit of burnout. So the first thing that we want to avoid, we want to remember, we want to keep in mind, as a dungeon master, you're also a player. You're sitting at a table. You're a player from a different perspective. You need to have some fun with this game. You need to do some exciting things. You need to role play, and however you role play. Absolutely, as a DM, you're not just there to roll some dice, make some DC checks, and read from a book. What opportunities are there for role play? And what can you do to surprise the players and make it unexpected? Examples, playing various encounters. Yes, tactically, you're going to try and have the monsters beat on the players and hit them. But how can you coordinate those attacks, those monsters, that encounter, to challenge the players? As they're fighting, can you have the monsters taunt or talk to the players or try to negotiate with the players to buy some more time? We had this happen in an adventure where I had some orcs fighting the players, and there was some goblins with the orcs, of course. We're in combat, and it got to one of the orcs' miniature turn, and I wanted to talk to one of the players. So this orc is going to kind of call out, wants to negotiate. So that's its action. And I called out to a specific PC. So I'm like, you, right? The orc calls out in common, wants to talk, you wanted the players to do something, offer some gold. The orc wanted to buy safe passage for its tribe through the valley and wanted to know if the PCs would allow that and give the orc some information on how to do that. 500 gold. Orc doesn't have 500 gold. Orcs don't care. Well, yeah, orcs do care about treasure, I guess. But this orc didn't care about treasure. He just knows that parties are usually greedy. Adventurers are greedy. We were still in combat, but we were going initiative order. So that orc could ask the question, the player could answer back. Then when it got to another player, that player could now negotiate and talk or ask a question to that orc. When it got to one of the other goblins, that goblin started kind of walking alongside the players, getting a better position. Another orc pulls back. Another goblin kind of moves through the forest, getting into position. I used it as a chance to reposition some of the goblins. There was no negotiation. There was nothing going to happen. But I say that because, as an example, what can you do to make it exciting for you? And in terms, that's going to feed back to the players and make it exciting for them. Remember, you are a player. Let's talk about adventures, because this is the other way that I see Dungeon Masters burn out. We talk about player personality. Certain players, for the most of the time, myself included, we tend to play certain characters. That's not to say that I don't play a druid or I don't play a rogue. Haven't played a bard in a long, long time. But for the most part, I play a monk, I play a wizard, I play a sorcerer, I play a fighter. Can't remember the last time I played a paladin, although in all fairness, anytime I'm a player, it's with a good friend and he always plays a paladin. We should both play paladins. I mean, we're not brothers in real life, but we're pretty close to it. So we could be paladin bros in D&D. I think I'm actually going to present that. We should do that. And then maybe unexpectedly, I think you'd be able to roll with it and have a good laugh. If we play paladins and we're brothers, I'll let him be the older brother and I'll be the younger brother. So you know how that goes. And then maybe I'll go blackguard, because I'll be like, look, you've always outshined me in the order, and it's always been about you as the older brother, and you've denied me everything. I'm going to go blackguard. That might have to happen. That could be really interesting. There's a great example, right? I'm kind of thinking in my DM voice of different scenarios and different things, and you just kind of daydream, and you're like, hey, that's some good stuff. I'm gonna try and do that. I say this though as a DM. So players, we like to play certain characters based on our personality, based on what we like to do. That's the same as a DM, because you're a player. What I mean by that is, and there is no right or wrong, you might be like, look, I love running dungeon crawlers. I love making the dungeon, stocking the dungeon, having that whole system in the dungeon of traps and treasure. You could say, hey, I love city adventures. I love political adventures. I love things where, maybe there's one or two combats a game, but most of it is skill checks and interactions. Whatever you like, the adventures you like. You could be like, I like to run these monsters all the time. Run them. Play them. If you play and create the adventures that excite you, you're going to bring that to the table. That enthusiasm, table could be physical or virtual, that enthusiasm is going to circulate among the players with the characters that they like to play, and we're going to have this awesome synergy going. That's not to say don't play other adventures. You want to challenge yourself as a DM. You want to experience things. So if I like running dungeon crawlers, after every 5 dungeon crawlers I'll run one adventure that's completely different, totally different, just to challenge the players and also to kind of challenge myself and maybe give me some ideas. Another piece, and this is an important piece as a DM, because you do have a lot on you. There's a lot of opportunity. You can't make mistakes. You can't mess things up. Don't worry about it. What I mean by that is literally, the rules are optional in D&D. Not only are they optional, you're the dungeon master. So if you forget a rule, or you just auto pass something, or it's a difficulty check and it's pretty important, so it should have been like, DC 18, but for some reason you're like, it's DC 10, or you misinterpret a monster's ability, that's all okay. It's no big deal at all. It isn't. Keep the game going. Don't reflect on yourself or be like, I got this wrong, or how do I do it, or how do I navigate these things? Don't worry about it. You can look it up if you have to in the book, and even then, just make a call as a DM. A simple thing that I will navigate as a DM that helped me early on was, first, if the players want to do it, I let them do it. You want to do it? Okay. Now, there's going to be consequences. There is. You want to try and intimidate the head of the guards standing at the gate to the city because you don't want to pay 5 silver pieces? It's not even 5 gold. You don't want to pay 5 silver? So you're going to intimidate a guard, the head guard. Okay. I mean, I won't say all that, but so never, no, it's not a good idea. No, you don't want to do that. No, you can't do that. You can do whatever you want. There'll be consequences. And when in doubt, if I don't know how to handle something, if I don't know a rule, or I'm not sure, how does that work? I just give it an average DC check and let the player make that. And most of the time they'll pass, and it'll work. And it creates that opportunity, and it creates that synergy. If it doesn't, they will have to find another way. So if you feel like, well, I don't know all the rules and what if something happens? How do I handle it? Have your like final stop be like, make a skill check or DC check or roll a D20. There you go. But I say that truly, you can't mess things up as a DM. It's your story. It's your world. It's your creativity. Free yourself. It shouldn't even be anxiety or worry. Free yourself from that. It's all good. We're going to have a great, great time rolling some dice, telling some stories, making some friends. But D&D burnout, Dungeon Master burnout, player burnout, DM burnout, I think is the highest potential. And you don't want to do that because you're a player too. So I find keeping these basic things in mind, trying to cultivate them, it keeps you focused, it keeps you fresh, it keeps you excited. But turning it over to the comments, my fellow D&D DM enthusiasts, it's a lot of Ds. What do you do to avoid burnout? How do you keep yourself going, focused, and enhanced as a DM?